Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. It's Friday, the 21st of January 2021, and we're well into the year now, and the sport is well underway as well. We're starting to get into some of the big events like the tennis, which we'll come on to later. We'll start, as we often do, with the Premier League, and it seems that Manchester City are looking like they're going to run away with the title, to be fair. After last weekend, they beat Chelsea 1-0 in a very tight game at the Etihad Stadium. 1-0 victory over Chelsea. A great strike by Kevin De Bruyne separated the teams. It was enough to get them the 3 points. They were the better team on the day, just about, and in fact more than just about, to be honest with you. And it looks like Liverpool might be the main rivals now. Chelsea seems to be, shall we say, slipping a bit at the moment. They only managed to draw this week on Tuesday as well, away to Brighton 1-1, so they're dropping behind in the title race. Liverpool, if they win their one game in hand, will be 8 points behind. They had a comfortable 4-0 victory at home to Brentford at Anfield, so they're doing well at the moment, and we'll come on to the Carabao Cup in a minute as well. Leeds had a vital victory this weekend. They beat West Ham away, so West Ham's fourth place hopes took a bit of a knock there. 3-2 it was to Leeds. Very exciting game. A hat-trick for Leeds for Jack Harrison, which surprised me because I don't really rate the lad, to be fair. Doesn't do a lot normally, but hat-trick on Sunday, so fair play to him. You know, he come up with a good performance. West Ham didn't perform to the best. They got back into the game twice, but I think watching the match, it just seemed that Leeds always looked like they were going to win the match, to be fair. Even though they had a couple of injuries where they lost players in the first half. They lost 2 players. They lost Forshaw and Firpo in the first 20 minutes or so they had to reshuffle the team, but they brought one of the young lads on bait, and he got substituted. The sub got substituted, but no disgrace, and he looked knackered when he went off, so fair play to him. We put a good effort in while he were on, but it'd be a big learning curve for him and a good experience for him in that first big game in the Premier League. Elsewhere, we had a big win for Norwich against Everton, which led to the sacking, unfortunately, for Rafa Benitez at Everton. Everton have put Duncan Ferguson in temporary charge for this weekend's game against Aston Villa, and they did a decent job last time, so whether they'll decide to stick with him until maybe the end of the season, I don't know. If they can't find the right person, I know they've got people in mind for replacing him, and Roberto Martinez said he would come back, but he won't be coming back before the World Cup, so that means waiting almost a full 12 months, so I don't think they'll be prepared to do that. So we'll see what happens with the Vegas at Everton, but they've slipped down into below reach the table. I think they're 6 points clear of relegation zone, but it was a big win for Norwich. Good game at Villa Park. Manchester United 2-2 draw. Villa Man United. United were 2 goals up. They'll feel they probably should have won the match, but to be fair, Villa did put up a good performance. They were unlucky the previous week in the cup game, so I think felt justified that they got a draw out of this. Philippe Coutinho on his debut came from the bench and scored. Jacob Ramsey scored the other goal for Villa. He was the man of the match. Thought he should have been the man of the match in the previous week's cup game at Old Trafford. He's playing really well at the moment. They fought back well. So a good result for Villa in a way from where they were. That battle for fourth between West Ham, Tottenham, who were sort of like coming back into things again now. Fantastic result for them at Leicester during the week. They were 2-1 down about 4 minutes into injury time. They managed to win 3-2. Again, another surprise player who hasn't really done a lot for me. Steven Bergwijn scored twice in the space of about 60 seconds to get the victory and hurt Leicester again like we did at the end of last season when he snatched the 4th place in the table to get the Champions League, not the Champions League spot, should I say, the 4th place in the table, or the last place in the table for the Champions League top for Leicester. Took it off them and handed it to Liverpool, should I say. Got that all a bit tangled up there, but yeah, so Tottenham beat Leicester last year and again on Tuesday. So there's a bit of a battle there between West Ham, Man United, Arsenal, Tottenham, Leicester and Wolves, I'd say, probably for that 4th place. There's plenty going on there. Looking forward to this weekend, and we've got the first TV games tonight. It's Watford against Norwich. Not probably a game that most people want to watch, but it's on Sky and it's for a relegation battle. A big 6-point here, say. 2 teams that are struggling to stay up, I would think. Those two, Burnley and Newcastle, their ones seem to be the biggest trouble at the moment. Leeds are sort of fighting their way out. Everton, I think they'll probably get their way out. And they have talking of which, their next game is live on Saturday at lunchtime on BT Sport. Everton against Villa. Ferguson versus Gerrard. So that adds a bit of spice to the game. Maybe it will. It'll be interesting to see what impact that has on the actual match itself. Not sure it will. Hopefully it won't. From a Villa point of view. Then we've got the Saturday night tea time game is Southampton against Manchester City. That's on Sky. Also on Sky, the two Sunday games, 2 o'clock kick-off, Crystal Palace against Liverpool. I always think of that game when Liverpool were 3-0 up at Crystal Palace and drew 3-all, probably cost them a title that season. And then we've got the big game at 4:30, the London derby, Chelsea versus Tottenham at Stamford Bridge, a repeat of the Carabao Cup semi-final, which leads us nicely on to the Carabao Cup semi-final and the final now, which will be Chelsea against Liverpool. Chelsea had already beaten Tottenham over their 2 legs, and last night Liverpool were victorious 2-0 at the Emirates Stadium. 2 goals from Diogo Jota. Arsenal started well, we couldn't put the ball in the net. Liverpool got back into the game. Jota hit a shot into the corner. Good finish, to be fair to him. And then he scored another one deep into the second half to finish the tie. Thomas Partey came back for Arsenal. Come back from Ghana. He's been playing for Ghana in the AFCON. They got knocked out, so he came back. He flew back, got back to London yesterday lunchtime. Was on the bench, came on, and got sent off. 2 yellow cards in the space of 3 minutes. He's had a really poor week. I bet he just wants to forget about things at the moment. So, yeah, your Carabao Cup final, 27th of February at Wembley Stadium, will be Chelsea versus Liverpool, and that should be a good match, and I'm sure we'll cover that nearer the time the event comes round. Moving on now to the National League, and a lot has been going on in National League football. FC Halifax Town doing really well. They're still top of the table, thankfully, due to a slip-up from Chesterfield on Tuesday night. They lost 3-2 at Maidenhead. They almost pulled it back after being 2-0 down, but they couldn't quite pull it off or even get a point. The only bad news for Halifax is we're playing Maidenhead tomorrow away, so let's hope that Maidenhead have used all their goals up in that game against Chesterfield. Town are 1 point clear of Chesterfield going into tomorrow's matches. Chesterfield are at home to Aldershot. You'd expect them to win that game. It'll be tough for Town. We may see a switch round, but hopefully not. We can hold on to top spot. A good victory also for Stockport during the week. They won 3-0 at home to Eastleigh, and they're up to 3rd and looking menacing now, I've got to say. It's still very tight between the top 8 and 9 teams, and they're all in there. So there's a lot to fight for. And like I say, Town have got a tough match tomorrow, so fingers crossed they can come up with 3 points at Maidenhead. Yeah, so it won't be an easy game, like I say. In terms of other competitions, we've got the FA Trophy, and Town scraped through last weekend. They won on penalties against Alfreton, away to Alfreton. 3-2, should I say, after sudden death. Alfreton looked like they were going to win it when they scored the first 2 penalties, then they missed the rest of them. Should I say Sam saved 3 of them, and then the 6th one they blasted over the bar, and Jack Senior was left to pick up the pieces and hammer home the winner. So Town are through now, and have got a really good draw in the 5th round, a plum tight home to Notts County on the 12th of February at the Shea. The other big draw in the next round is going to be Wrexham against Boreham Wood. So let's hope Town can make further progress. You should expect to get a good crowd against Notts County, depending on how seriously the Notts County fans take the FA Trophy. We've obviously won it 6 years ago, it'll be this time actually, so it'd be nice to win it again. The monetary rewards for the competition aren't great, it's more about prestige, I think, to be honest with you, and it depends. With a lot of the ex-league teams, they probably aren't that bothered because they feel that they're above it. It's beneath them is the FA Trophy, so I think sometimes some of the teams don't give 100%, but most of the top teams in the conference are still in the competition this time. Chesterfield were eliminated because of COVID, but most of the top teams are still there, so could get a good final again this time, hopefully. So we'll see what happens in a month's time or so. Moving on from football now, and we're going to talk about the NFL. We had the wildcard games last weekend, and in those wildcard games, I did watch a couple of bits of those. I saw a bit of the game between the Bengals and the Raiders. The Bengals coming out on top eventually by 26 points to 19. So Neil will be happy about that. Pete won't be so happy because the Bills beat his beloved Patriots by 47 points to 17. It wasn't even close. And then they were on a Saturday, early hours Sunday morning. On the Sunday tea time game, I actually watched a bit of this. I saw Mike Evans do some kind of brilliant somersault when he put a touchdown through from a pass from Tom Brady. They beat the Eagles 31-15. They were actually 31 points up, I think, at one point, and then he just eased off and took Brady off, and with it I saw he went off. So they're through. The 49ers beat the Cowboys at a close match by 23 points to 17. Well, I say close in terms of scoreline because actually it was 23 points to 7 until the last quarter. The Chiefs beat the Steelers comfortably. They won by 42 points to 21. The damage was done mainly in the second quarter when they scored 21 points to 7, and again the third quarter with 14 points to 7. And then in the other game, the Rams beat the Cardinals by 34 points to 11, and again they were well clear by the time the Cardinals got on the scoreboard in the third quarter. It was already 21-0 to the Rams. So they were the wild card games, and this weekend we've got the divisional matches, and this is where the seeded teams, the Packers and the Titans, come in. And we've got the Titans playing on tomorrow evening, 9:30 UK time, and they're taking on the Bengals. So Neil will be obviously squeaky bum time for him there. Tough match for them there. And then we've got the early hours of Sunday morning. We've got the 1:15 a.m. Packers take on the 49ers. And then moving on to later in the day on Sunday the 23rd, we've got the Buccaneers against the Rams at 8 p.m. our time. And at 11:30 our time on Sunday evening, we've got the Chiefs against the Bills. So some big matches there, and we'll be back to report on what happens there. Whether the fancied teams such as the Packers can get through to the next stage, to the finals, the divisional finals should I say, or whether they'll, the current holders, the Buccaneers, can retain their title. It'll be interesting to see, but it's boiling down to all the really important stuff now, so I'll keep you informed on that. Okay, moving on now from NFL, we're going to talk about the Ashes, or the end of the Ashes, because the Ashes are over, and for England it's probably a blessing in disguise after another batting collapse, which probably epitomised the whole tour really, where they lost all of 10 wickets for 56. They started, they were chasing down 200 plus runs, I think it was like 280, something like that, and they started well. They made a 68 opening partnership. Crawley and Burns put on 68 for the opening partnership. Then they lost all 10 wickets for 56 runs to be all out for 124. And that just sums up exactly how it's all gone for us over the whole tour, really. And it's not that they've got much time to think about what happened, because they've got a series come up against the West Indies in March. And that's the Test series in March. But now they've got a T20 series starting tomorrow evening out in the West Indies. 8 p.m. start of the first T20 match tomorrow evening, so something to tune into on BT Sport there. If you've got BT Sport, might be something more enjoyable. We are definitely better in the white ball format of the game at this very moment in time, so maybe we can pull off a victory there. It'd be nice, but you never know what you're going to get with the West Indies. They're brilliant or they're rubbish, so depends what mood we're in on the day, so we'll see what happens there. In terms of the Test team, Joe Root has stated a desire to carry on. Whether the coaching setup of Ashley Giles and Chris Silverwood will still carry on, I'm not sure, but there's been a lot of calls and criticism, particularly of Giles. I saw an interview with Nick Compton saying basically it's all his fault, and I think quite a few people feel a similar way, so whether he survives, I'm not sure. Silverwood's not really had to prove himself yet. I must admit, when they appointed him, it was a bit of a surprise, but I wished him well, because he obviously played for Yorkshire and played for England, did a good job at Essex, but it's a bit different at Test level, stepping up from the county championship, so we'll have to see whether he does actually survive or not. The Women's Ashes series is also underway now. It started a couple of days ago. In fact, I think it was yesterday morning, the first game in the T20. Basically, the Women's Ashes is decided on points, and what we do is play a series of T20 matches, a one-off test, and a series of one-day internationals, and they allocate points per match. So the first T20 match was yesterday, and England made a good start, so they thought, by putting 169 on the board, a good target. There has to be a record chase for Australia, and unfortunately they managed that record chase, and it was McGrath who took 3 for 26 and scored 91 not out. Young girl, I think it's Tanya McGrath, and she did really well, and they won with 9 wickets in hand and 3 overs to spare, which is pretty depressing for the English girls, as Tammy Beaumont said. It was pretty depressing really to think they'd done quite well and play well and to get hammered basically. So let's hope things pick up and don't go down the same route as the men's Ashes, because we can't do another depressing result like that, can we, really, to be fair. So good luck to the girls and the rest of the Ashes there. Okay, now we're going to talk about tennis. We're not going to talk about Djokovic. Obviously, Novak Djokovic was deported from Australia. He's not in the tournament, so we'll forget about that. We don't do politics on this podcast. So we're left with people like Nadal, and we've got Medvedev, who are going to be 2 of the main contenders to win the title in the men's draw. Andy Murray, unfortunately, after a promising start, beating Nicholas Basilashvili, was knocked out in the second round. Cameron Norrie had a really disappointing result. The British number one was a 12th seed, and he got beaten straight sets in the first round. Dan Evans is the only one left in now out of both the men and the women's draw. Emma Raducanu, promising start again. She beat Sloane Stephens, bit of a topsy-turvy game. She won the first set 6-love, then I think she lost the second set 6-4 or something like that, and then she won the last set 6-1, so up and down. But then in the second game against Kavinka, she lost in 3 sets. She battled hard. Apparently she had hand blisters, so she struggled, and she lost 6-4 in the third set, so she's out. So like I said, all the British, Heather Watson got to the second round, she's out as well. So we just got Dan Evans, who's playing tomorrow in the next round, in the third round. So good luck to Dan Evans, he's flying the flag for Britain now. So disappointing really. In terms of British performance so far, we don't seem to do that well in the Australian Open. I don't know if it's because we're not ready for the season yet or not. I don't know what it is, but we just don't seem to do that great. So disappointing really overall there. In terms of rugby league now, and the Halifax Panthers have their final warm-up game this evening. They're away to Salford at the AJ Bell Stadium. We had the first game was cancelled against Bradford Bulls at Odsal due to the weather on Boxing Day, and then they played last Sunday in the Scott Griggs testimonial match. They were beaten by Wakefield, the Super League team, by 24 points to 52. Wakefield, I think, scored 9 tries, but I've got to say Simon Griggs, the Halifax coach, was fairly positive about the outcome of the match, saying he was expecting a defeat, but he said it was a good warm-up for the team. And again, another test for them tonight away to Salford. It'll be difficult to see them winning that one, but obviously it depends on what kind of team each side puts out. But I'll come back with an update on that next week, and we'll be looking ahead to the season as well, the actual league season, which starts not too far away from now, same as the Super League actually, which starts, I think they start at the last weekend of January, so next weekend effectively, some of the games, so I'll be covering that next Friday. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about today is, well, there's 2 things actually. I'm going to talk about Speedway first of all, and the fixtures for the domestic season were released yesterday. I've not had a full look at them yet, but I've looked at the highlights. Some of the dates that people will be interested in. The British final is at Bellevue on Monday the 1st of August, and the Premiership pairs are back this year, and that is also at Bellevue, and that's on, I think, Monday the 12th of September. So they're 2 dates for the diary to go alongside the British Grand Prix at Cardiff, which I believe is on the 13th of August. The night before it's the Championship pairs, which is at Oxford back in Speedway, and welcome back to them, big event for them there. And then the day after the Grand Prix, we've got the one of the World Under 21 Championship final rounds. That's also at Cardiff, so you've got the two big meetings at Cardiff, and the night before at Oxford. Going back to the domestic fixtures, looking at Bellevue, the first meeting at Bellevue will be the Peter Cribb Memorial Trophy on the 21st of March. Then the following Monday, the 28th, their first team meeting is at home to Sheffield in the League Cup. Sheffield hosts Bellevue in the return on the 7th of April at Owlerton. Other things people always look forward to in the Bellevue calendar on Easter Monday, home and away matches, lunchtime at Bellevue, evening at Wolverhampton at Monmouth Green, and then same again on Bank Holiday Monday in August. So they're the things I've picked out at the moment. There might be other things that I've missed that you've seen. If you want to point out and have them, put them in the comments below. If you've got any other comments you want to add at all to today's video, just add them in the comments below as well. One final point, sad news from the world of Bristol stock car racing. The passing of Rod Falding, Peter Falding, the former world champion's father. Rod was a great driver in his own right. He was a star grade driver. When I started going in sort of like 79, 80, he was racing part-time. He used to race mainly at Bellevue at that point, but he sort of like picked up his racing a little bit again when Peter became old enough to race, and maintained red grade through mid-80s period really, until his retirement later in the decade. So a really nice man from all accounts, and I always like to watch him. So my condolences, best regards to Peter, Jordan and all the Falding family, and a sad loss to the world of stock cars. And on that note, I'd like to say thank you for watching as always. I'll be back with more next week, but until then, it's bye from me. Bye now.